The 3 most recent Warrior Cats arcs have kept Tigerstar a very major character. Of course, by Tigerstar, I mean the second Tigerstar, who was once Tigerheart. And with how relevant Tigerstar continues to be, I can't help but feel like his siblings, Flametail and Dawnpelt, really got the short end of the stick. Both cats, back in Omen of the Stars, had just as much potential to make an impact, but it only became clear the authors didn't care enough about either of them. The 3 siblings were first introduced as Dawnpelt's kits in Power 3, and were heavily featured in Long Shadows, but the characters as we know them very much were developed in Omen of the Stars. Tigerheart got his attention early when he was picked for the Beaver quest, but the 3 of these cats really started to have a big role in the overall story when Night Whispers was released. Flametail was the first ShadowClan point of view, receiving 5 whole chapters out of the 25 in the book. It was an interesting decision by the writing team. Each Omen of the Stars book already had 4 point of view cats, more than any Warrior Cats book has had before or since. But they decided for Night Whispers, let's do 5, making the most of any book. Here's the breakdown of the chapters. So Flametail wasn't quite the main focus. If any cat, it was Dovepaw. So Flametail's POV overall was a bit of a half commitment, but that's not to say it had no purpose. It was 1, a much needed glimpse into ShadowClan that brought life to its characters, and 2, it set up the beginning of the divided StarClan plot that would carry through to the last hope. Ivypaw had just 1 chapter in ShadowClan this book, while she was held hostage for Catmint. It was clear we needed a ShadowClan perspective to tell the story they did with Flametail. So why not have a run through of Flametail's chapters? Chapter 6. It's the aftermath of the battle where Russifer was killed by Lionblaze, and every cat in ShadowClan is super upset. They discuss strategies for a potential battle to get back their territory that never happens. In the most underrated bit, Tigerheart and Dawnpelt have a cute little play fight over which of them their dad Rowanclaw would choose should he become leader. In the moment, it's a nice bit of comic relief, but in the greater scheme of things, it's very interesting to look back on, because after this book, the 2 of them would never quite be this carefree. Chapter 8. Flametail is visiting the moon pool in place of Little Cloud, who is too sick to, and he is seeking answers on the conflict with ThunderClan. Palefoot warns him about water for foreshadowing reasons. Admittedly, if he really cared about Flametail, he'd give more context. But the main focus of the meeting with StarClan is that Flametail can only see ShadowClan ancestors there, because the division of StarClan's borders has started. They tell him to value ShadowClan above all and refuse being allies with others, which is interesting because it echoes what Flametail already believed. It's a good moral about the concept of confirmation bias, meaning you are more likely to accept information that is in accordance with what you already believe. At this time, StarClan was very sketchy and had the wrong idea completely, but because Flametail also had the wrong idea, he accepted their corrupt authority with open arms. In Chapter 10, he brings the news to ShadowClan, but no cat wants to accept it without question. Not Little Cloud, not Blackstar, not Rowanclaw. They don't have the same bias as Flametail. Little Cloud completely disagrees with turning on his friends, while Blackstar and Rowanstar want to wait for more information. In the Dovepaw chapter, Tigerheart brings her to a place where he says only he and Flametail know of, where they played as apprentices, a little nod to how Flametail used to be more innocent and playful. In a Jayfeather chapter, Flametail and Little Cloud are absent from a half-moon meeting, and there's this sense of dread as we wonder if Little Cloud had decided to follow Flametail in rejecting the other clans. But in Chapter 17, we find that isn't the case. Little Cloud was just too sick to travel, so Flametail was rebellious and just slept in a log instead of going. Little Cloud calls him out for it, and they fight. In an interesting callback, we learn that Little Cloud has a favorable opinion of ThunderClan because Cinderpelt saved his life all those years back. And later, Flametail has a vision of being trapped under the ice and drowning when he sees Dawnpelt break the ice in a tiny puddle. Another warning of how he would die. With the Ivypaw hostage situation, we find out why Flametail's way of thinking was flawed. Because ShadowClan had to take a hostage in order to get Catmint to save Little Cloud's life, even though Jayfeather would have happily let them have some had Flametail just showed up to the meeting and asked for it. Ivypaw witnesses the beginning of Flametail having visions of darkness as a warning of what is suggested to be the Dark Forest battle, and then Flametail's final chapter, 24, Flametail still has bad visions, but Little Cloud is feeling better, so his mood is somewhat improved. Some ShadowClan cats are playing a game of Prey Stone on the frozen lake, basically ice hockey, and Dawnpelt tells Flametail he should join in. And he, in a surprising turn of events, forgets he had a horrific vision of drowning below the ice, and indulges in a little fun, reminiscent of his more carefree apprentice self. Big mistake. He falls through a crack in the ice and drowns. There's a lot to unpack here. I think the writers wanted his death to be 3 things. 1, a subversion of expectations. 2, a catalyst for turning the storyline more dark and serious in the second half of Omen of the Stars. And 3, a reason to create a division among the medicine cats. Flametail having terrible visions of darkness and being this deeply serious, untrusting cat, and then just dying playing hockey, is clear irony, and it's a great representation of how sudden and unexpected tragedies can happen sometimes. No one is above accidents, so be careful, stay vigilant, and exercise skepticism appropriately. Like when Flametail took StarClan at their word and rejected his fellow medicine cats, almost costing ShadowClan access to Catmint. In this situation, he also takes cats at their word instead of worrying of potential consequences. Though in StarClan's case, it's a message about questioning authority, while with the ShadowClan cats, it's textbook peer pressure. So that's the moral. What about the implications on the plot? That comes with another aspect of his death scene. When he dies, Jayfeather is there trying to save him, but he can't, and the Spirit of Rock appears, warning Jayfeather away, saying he can't save Flametail, and that doing so would just mean they would both die. So Jayfeather lets go and survives. And when his spirit goes to StarClan, he gets lost and goes to the Dark Forest, and Ivypaw almost kills him to prove loyalty. He's saved by Tigerheart. Now you may be wondering why I've talked so positively of Flametail, if the video is supposed to be about the ways the books mistreated him. Be patient, we'll get there. Let's talk about Dawnpelt now. She was absolutely broken by the death of her brother. So broken that she doesn't show up in the next book, okay? You can absolutely tell this traveling book is filler. The 4th cat prophecy is basically the only thing that matters in the books after. The Forgotten Warrior picks up like Flametail's death just happened. It's weird. One of the flaws of having 2 books written by different people at the same time. This is where Dawnpelt's angry side makes her debut. Tigerheart hypes her up as being super mad and wanting revenge to both Dovepaw and Ivypaw because she saw Jayfeather trying to save him and thinks that he was actually killing him. The book explains this jump in logic as her being in grief and wanting to blame anyone, which is just a massive missed opportunity. Dawnpelt was the cat who told Flametail he should go have fun on the ice, and this critical detail is just forgotten. It would have made so much sense to give this as the reason Dawnpelt wants to blame Jayfeather, because if Jayfeather was responsible, it would mean that she wasn't. It would mean she could live with herself knowing that she told him to play on the ice. It could be a deflection of the immense guilt she feels. Now of course, Dawnpelt isn't the one responsible for his death. It's a mix of every cat who played on the ice that day without questioning it, and the cruelness of Mother Nature. But the fact that she could have thought she was would have given her character depth. It would have made Tigerheart's quote about her blaming anyone more impactful. But we just missed that. Back to the plot, Dovepaw and Ivypaw brush off Tigerheart's concern, and then Dawnpelt throws a tantrum at a gathering, accusing Jayfeather of murder. But there is one small detail in this whole situation that just intrigues me so much. Because of her complete lack of evidence, the clan leaders and medicine cats are very against the accusation, and Dawnpelt just looks deflated. But then, Tigerheart backs her up, out of pity. Also without evidence, but somehow turns the other cats all over to his side, even Little Cloud. And Jayfeather gets his medicine cat role suspended, guilty until proven innocent. So because a Tom says it instead of the crazy she-cat, they're more willing to believe. But warrior cats, being warrior cats, doesn't tackle themes on gender discrimination, so it's just another missed opportunity for depth in Dawnpelt's character. that possibility she is mentally breaking down because she lacks a support system of cats who take her seriously. So instead, I think the author's intention was just that Tigerheart said it in a more composed way. So instead of the cats in the book having an implicit bias, the writers do. Great. The Last Hope doesn't do anything more for Dawnpelt, and just continues her being emotional and lashing out, without any further depth. So Dawnpelt's story in Own of the Stars just winds up being a massive disappointment. There were multiple opportunities to dig deeper into why she was upset, but instead they just sort of play it off for comic relief. She eventually calms down if we take into account the Vision of Shadows arc, but she's basically a different character at that point, so that should be a topic for a different video. So with Dawnpelt's character ruined, the only thing left for the writers to do is ruin Flametail as well. In The Last Hope, Jayfeather seeks out Flametail's spirit in ShadowClan in order to clear his name, and Spotted follows him because of course she does. Jayfeather falls into the mud right when he meets Flametail, and needs his help to not drown. And Flametail is mad at Jayfeather. There's a really silly moment of inconsistency if we go back to the filler book. The first time Jayfeather sees Flametail in ShadowClan, Flametail is all chilling with the medicine cats, and says, "Hey Jayfeather, come and join us!" Not only does this contradict the divided ShadowClan message that Flametail was fed and still believed at the end of Night Whispers, it contradicts the bitter Flametail we meet in The Last Hope. Obviously, Last Hope Flametail was the author's intention with him, but it's so weird that Flametail was so absent in the 2 books in between. Even at the end of Night Whispers, when Ivypaw almost kills him because Broken Star forces her, Flametail doesn't react. Tigerheart yells at Ivypaw after he stops her, but Flametail just doesn't say anything. Like, dude, you're being killed. Please react to this development. They spend an entire book writing him as so angry, and then he just becomes an NPC. But he's back in The Last Hope, for a moment. Flametail recognizes the irony in the Jayfeather drowning situation, and gets bitter about the fact that Jayfeather let him go, not trusting that Jayfeather was forced to do it, because it is in his character that he doesn't trust ThunderClan cats. And he is also bitter about the fact that Ivypool almost killed him, which also makes sense, in spite of the fact that he didn't react while it was happening. So Flametail's finally acting like himself again. But then Spotted butts in with a motivational speech about the meaning of being a medicine cat, and Flametail's entire personality just turns off like a light switch. And he's like, okay, I'll save Jayfeather. Dude, Spotted is a ThunderClan cat too. You've been chilling with these separated ShadowClan ancestors for how long? You were ready to let Jayfeather die, and suddenly you trust Spotted? This is no redemption arc. This is a redemption 90-degree angle. So Spotted makes him tell every medicine cat he didn't kill Jayfeather, and then Flametail is all happy he fulfilled his destiny. So his destiny was to clear up a misconception about his own death. That's so sad, especially when absolutely any other resolution to this situation would have had more impact. Like Dawnpelt realizing she couldn't keep blaming Jayfeather, or Little Cloud coming through with trust for Jayfeather like he showed he had in Night Whispers, or, any cat at all realizing there was absolutely no evidence or motive for Jayfeather to do it? Yeah. So that is a story of how Flametail and Dawnpelt were massacred by the writing of Omen of the Stars. Let me know in the comments if you want a video on Dawnpelt, Needletail, and Violetpaw, and a Vision of Shadows. Alright, bye everyone!